building a really great product for people. And now with 500 clones, 499 of them are relevant. I mean, we still maintain a really great lead, and I think it's because we really focus on creating a great product.
But is this a lead of simply experience, or is it a lead of writing code and technology and software?
I think it's all of those things. It's having a consistently great experience for our customers and our merchants. I think that people, at least on the internet, because I think about this a lot, companies that have these huge ramps, we're not the first. Maybe we've done it a little bit faster, but that's largely a side effect of the world in which we live, where there's these social media channels like Facebook and Twitter that just allow ideas to propagate much faster. But I think about what causes these, the Friendsters or the MySpaces to then collapse. And it's usually those companies losing to themselves. They lose their sense of focus. Maybe they're too focused on the competition, or they're off doing interviews with Charlie Rose instead of working on growing their business.
Please do not say that.
But I think as long as we continue to look at what our customers and our merchants want, and be as fanatical about that as we were when we started the business, then we'll be in pretty good shape.
So focus is what those that don't excel, or those that lose their meteoric rise. It's focus. They forget
what's important.
What's important. They forget why they got to the place that they are. Yeah.
Maybe.
So what's the future of Groupon? Other than countries that you haven't tapped, cities that you haven't been to?
Self-driving cars. We're going to get into that. Beyond that...
What's a self-driving car? Although I know there's been a little bit of talk about it, but tell us.
That's actually all that I know so far. But I know that I want to do it. Yeah. Beyond that, we think there's really an opportunity for a company to come along and change the way that people buy from local businesses, in the same way that sites like Amazon have changed the way that people buy products.
Right.
And we want to try to be that company. We think we've scratched the surface.
So you're the
what's
savior
possible
for small business in the world.
We're the savior for small businesses. For consumers, we want to reverse this trend of spending more and more time on the computer and help people rediscover their cities. And as far as a company goes, I think we want to build a company that, as we get bigger, we stay honest to the brand and the corporate culture that made us a really cool place to work and made people like us when we were small, and hopefully create some examples of how you don't have to be like every other company, even when you're a big one.
And so the reputation is such now that merchants, when they hear you calling, are thrilled.
Yeah.
And they're lining up and calling you as well.
We have backlogs, sometimes 6 months long in our cities.
Saying me.
Yeah, businesses calling us.
And do you shape the deal?
We work with them to shape the deal. Yeah. It's our biggest problem. For every business we feature, we have to pass on 7 businesses. That's how much the demand is, because we have this self-imposed limitation, 1 deal a day, that we think is important. And that's what's led to the...
Why is that so important, 1 deal a day? Why not 1 deal an hour?
I don't know, maybe 1 deal an hour would work too, but the reason that we've stuck with this 1 deal a day model is just the focus. It puts the merchant in the spotlight and makes it feel really special, and it makes a really simple yes-no decision for consumers. I mean, I think it's one of the things that differentiates us from all the coupon and deal sites that came before, where it was just this list of deals and it's overwhelming and everything feels cheap. But we can really make these really special businesses feel special by making them the exclusive subject of our site for a day.
There is this old idea, and people have spoken to it for a long time. You know, somebody once asked Bill Gates, at the height of Microsoft's popularity, what did he fear most? And he said, I don't know, but it's 2 people somewhere in a garage working on something I've never heard of. That's what he feared, you know. What is it about this? I mean, is this a story of that, of you and Eric? You know, the sort of your co-founder and a guy who's been very successful at backing success. Is that what it was? Was it 2 guys who just had an idea, 2 guys that was right, or were you 2 people who were looking for the next break?
Well, I mean, in terms of fear, I still am most afraid of Freddy Krueger. But
yes,
but
you're shaped by your childhood, were you?
Yeah, I mean, he's still scary. But with the company, I think what we were trying to do is find a way to create a company that changes the world somehow. I think
changes the world.
Yeah, I mean,
you had that thought. Let's create something that can change the world, rather than what might work and what might do some. Here's a good idea. If we can somehow tap into showing a whole new set of people that small businesses can give them an experience and a bargain, that's not changing the world. That's sort of saying, that's a business.
Yeah, no, let me elaborate. So when I started The Point, I was originally in grad school, and
that had a different purpose. I mean, that was to raise money for a social cause.
Yeah, it had a different purpose, and that idea and other things I've done in the past, it's almost been like a burden. It's like you feel compelled, like you have this idea, you have a responsibility to go out and do something with it. So I think that's what got us started. And then the pivot to Groupon wasn't expected by anyone, including us. I mean, I think we started it as a side project, and it was like, oh, here's a cool thing. We didn't think we were going to start this billion-dollar business, but
here's a cool thing we can do for a group of people who are part of a social network.
Right.
You know, rather than raising money, we'll show them bargains.
Right. Exactly. And it seemed great from the perspective of a consumer. Here's a way to find cool things to do in Chicago.
Right.
But what took us by surprise was the positive effect it was having on businesses, because we didn't come from a background where we knew a lot about the trials and tribulations of running a brick-and-mortar business, but it's really, really hard for them to get new customers, and we ended up just doing that better than anybody else in the world. So when we got when we saw that, it allowed us to really dig in, and I think that continues to be what drives us, is that we're here to help. I mean, remember, our DNA are people who started this thing, who started a company because we wanted to change the world and make it better.
What does it say about where the internet is today, and where social networking is today, and where, you know, mobile is today? Well, does it tell me?
I think what it says is that there's this plumbing that's been laid through, like within the tubes.
Right.
That's the social graph that exists through tools like Facebook and Twitter, and it just allows companies to grow at a rate that is unprecedented. And I think when people call us the fastest growing company ever, I mean, I think of us as like the NSYNC of websites. Like, we've had some good tunes, but we're not the Beatles. It's not like we're the best thing ever. But our success and the amount of money we've made is largely because of the environment that we're growing companies in. So I think we'll continue to see more companies like us, who put us to shame a couple years from now with their rate of growth.
What might be happening in 5 years?
I mean, I think we'll feel like we've been successful if 5 years from now you don't have the same experience that you have today, where you walk down Main Street and 80% of the businesses are empty. If we can do a better job at managing supply for small businesses, so that there are more people out there and less kind of inventory going to waste constantly. So if we can bring that same kind of really smart inventory management that exists for Amazon or for Walmart to every mom and pop shop, then that's an exciting thing to be working toward.
And so